Hey, accounting students. My name is Mrs. Hicks, and I teach at Naperville Central. And I just wanted to just kind of send a little backup info over to you at Naperville North about bonds. Okay, Chapter 12 is really super cool. In Honors College Accounting this semester, we have the time and we have the opportunity to move a little bit further into not only managerial accounting, but also into maybe some finance functions as well. So the goal of this semester that Mrs. Marinas and I have is that you guys can start to see what finance does for the business world. Okay. And with bonds, we're really experiencing some, some long-term interest effects. And so we're going to have to spread those interest effects out over a number of years. It's a pretty complex chapter, as you may have noticed. And so I just kind of wanted to clear up a few things in case you had a few questions and just kind of emphasize the things that we think are probably the most important for you to know as you head into your college classes. And also as you head into that decision of, do I want to be an accounting major, finance major, marketing major? What is, what's my vibe? Okay. So as you guys already probably know, bonds are simply loans. Okay. When a company, the government, a municipality needs to borrow a big chunk of money, they can go to a lot of places. A lot of times they'll go to a bond, and the general public is able to purchase those bonds, and those bonds carry with them some interest and also a guarantee to be paid off at the end of their life. Bonds can be traded just like stocks can be. Okay, so that makes it even more fun. And as market prices change, as interest rates change, lending rates change, bonds are going to become more or less valuable depending on the market. Okay, a lot of cool stuff to dive into. All right. So you probably learned already a little bit about the history of bonds. You probably learned a little bit about the fact that bonds are usually long-term. They're usually for more than a year versus a note, which is a year or less. Also, bonds are just larger quantities of money. Okay, notes can be for the thousands of dollars. Bonds are usually for the millions of dollars. Okay, whether it's to build a new stadium for your college or university, or to build a new wing on your headquarters for your company. You can issue bonds for a variety of reasons. Okay. So let's talk right away about the complex side of things. Okay. Why do bonds get a little tricky? All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you and just kind of show you a few things from the PowerPoint, the slideshow that Mrs. Marinas and I work off of. Okay. Like I said, you already talked a little bit about the fact that bonds are not ownership in a company. They are simply a loan to the company. Okay. So while you don't own a piece of a company, if you own a bond, you do have primary claim on the corporation's assets. So you are a little higher up in the pecking order if a company goes under, if a company goes bankrupt. Okay, so I'm sure you guys went over this chart already, or this table already. The thing that you need to understand in this chapter is face value versus carrying value. Okay, face value is the value that we pitched the bond at. Okay, when we went to sell the bond, if we're a company, we went to sell the bond at its stated interest rate. Okay, at an interest rate that is maybe in the now. All right. When we actually sold the bond, when you actually took ownership of the bond, however, that interest rate may have changed. Okay. And if that interest rate changed, the bond is either worth more or less, depending on what interest rate you locked into in the stated rate. Okay. So the stated rate is what you pitched the bond at. The effective rate is what you actually could get elsewhere if you shopped around. Okay. So as a result of the market changing, you are either going to purchase, someone is going to purchase your bond at a discount. okay? Which means interest rates went up out in the real world. So your bond isn't as much worth as much as you think it is, okay? So you're going to give them some money off when they buy it, or they're going to purchase it at a premium because interest rates have dropped out in the real world. Your bond is worth more than something that they could replace it with out in the market, okay? Once you understand that concept, okay, and as this slide tries to explain it as well, that makes a little bit more sense throughout the rest of this chapter, okay? So you'll either buy on a premium, or you're going to sell it on a premium, or you're going to sell it at a discount. So we went through those slides, hopefully in class as well. Now, let's talk about what happens as you're paying interest throughout the years. Let's say I'm Coca-Cola and I've issued all these bonds. All right, maybe a term bond, which means that I've issued a series of a ton of bonds. Okay, and they're all going to be due at the same time. I am going to pay interest on them every single year. I'm going to put the money in to make sure that it can all get paid back in the long term. Okay, let's take a look at this amortization table. This amortization table may seem a little confusing, okay? But let me explain what it's doing, all right? Lean in a little bit and look closely, all right? Let me just go ahead and I'll make this even bigger here if I can. No, I can't. Never mind. I've got a dual monitor on, so the projection isn't working quite as well. But anyways, as you look at this, the face value of this particular bond is 100 grand. However, we sold it on a discount for 99 grand. The reason being is because the rate was 6% when I pitched the bond, and it yielded to date 6.2% when I sold the bond. Okay. So in other words, the market interest rate has gone up, which means people could make more money elsewhere. So they're going to pay less for your product. Okay. It's all supply and demand. All right. So what that means is the discount between face value and bond proceeds are $848.68. We are going to spread that loss out over 10 payments. Okay, so this must be a 5-year bond. Twice a year, we do a payment. So that's why there's 10 payments. So we are going to spread that $848.68 out very, very evenly, depending on the carrying value of the bond at the end of every year. Okay, we're not going to just take this $848.68 and divide it by 10. No. Okay, that'd be way too easy. Come on. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to take this 848.68 and we're going to spread it out like you see right here. Okay. We're going to take the carrying value of the bond, multiply it by the rate, the effective rate, and then divide that by 2. Okay. So we'll see that on the next slide. In the real world, we sold this at face value, we would simply take the overall face value of the bond, multiply it by 6% and divide it by 2, and our payments should only be 3 grand. But since we're spreading it out over 10 payments, every year you can see the carrying value goes up just a little bit until it gets to $100,000. Okay. So I hope that made a little bit of sense. Okay. Amortization is basically a spreading out. Okay. It's very similar to depreciation, except it's for something that's intangible. Okay. So that's the difference basically between amortization and depreciation. So when we spread out the interest expense or the discount, we're going to take the current year's carrying value. So every year or every payment, this number's changing. This number will stay the same, and then divide by 2 because we're doing 2 a year. Okay. So as you guys moved into your chapter 12, possibly your first few application problems. Hopefully you saw this all play out. Okay. First application problem, we're just going ahead and issuing some bonds and we're getting a good chunk of cash. Now, you might say that this amortization seems very trivial. It's only for $848 or whatever. Remember, these bonds aren't usually just for $100,000. They're usually for hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay. So it is super important to amortize these discounts and these premiums over a number of years. So 1 year doesn't look awesome and the next year looks absolutely horrible. Okay. We're going to go ahead and spread it out. So with that in mind, hopefully you can look at chapter 12, the second application problem again, and see why we did do these calculations down below in order to figure out these numbers up above. Okay, so this first one was a premium. The second one was a discount. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stop this video now. And if that first half of the chapter makes great sense to you, fantastic. I'm going to do one more video that explains the second half of the chapter. All right. See you guys soon.